Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for coming on. For those who are still watching, welcome to Monday Movie Club, where we talk openly about films that we have watched as a group, about the theming and things, as well as take part in a bit of a Bible study of what God has to say about those themes. Just here in the live chat, we just wanted to welcome everybody to our live chat and our discussion tonight, as well as say, feel free to just come on, say hi, and let us know what was your favorite Mary Poppins adventure. We've already shouted out a lot of the favorites. The tub from the beginning, Topsy's house. My favorite is the balloons at the very end of Mary Poppins Returns. It was just incredible to watch. So feel free, let us know what your favorite adventure was or what adventure you would like to go on that was highlighted in Mary Poppins Returns as you come on and say hello in the live chat. Just as we get started, we're just going to again say welcome to everyone. We've been at this now for over 2 months, I think. I think this has been our 10th movie for Movie Club. So welcome, everybody. I'm not 100% sure on that, actually, as I look at my notes, but it's been quite a bit. And so I'm just so glad that all of you are here and taking part in this. Just as those who are watching at home, maybe at a later date, or watching now, maybe not participating in live chat, for those who are unfamiliar, we do issue a spoiler warning at the beginning of all of our videos. We talk openly about the films that we've watched. This week's is Mary Poppins Returns. So if you don't want anything major spoiled of that film, feel free to pause the video, watch at a later date, or feel free to participate in our discussion and maybe get a little bit of insight before you watch the film. Either or, it all works out. So as we move forward in our night, just as a reminder to everybody of what happens here at Movie Club is that we ask you to share about Movie Club. Follow our hashtag, share with families and friends. Now that some of our areas, especially in Ontario, are opening up different circles of 10, maybe invite some friends over for a backyard socially distanced movie night. Have a few more loved ones participate in Movie Club. Participate in Movie Club. We mean talking about the discussions at home as well as taking part in our live streams on a weekly basis here on YouTube, as well as to continue to be loving and kind to one another. That has not been an issue with this group at all, but it's just been so good to see everybody coming on week to week. So thank you so much for everybody who comes on and just being the wonderful people that you are to one another and everyone who is new. So I always would open up with this one question. What was your snack for or meal for this Movie Club this week? For myself, I just felt like Mary Poppins was a lot of good childhood memories for me. And so I don't tell my 3-year-old I took a few of his animal cookies and I ate them while I watched this film. So that was my snack. Homemade chocolate chip cookies with white chocolate tips. Oh, Tammy, that sounds delicious. I don't know why I never thought about that. I love white chocolate. Yeah, I never thought to include those, but excellent choice. If you have any recommendations, I might actually take you up on that and bake some cookies for this next week's movie, because that just sounds way too yummy. Yeah, and then see if there's any recommendations in regards to snacks that we can all kind of enjoy together. Feel free to do that. Well, I'm glad you guys enjoyed the movie. As part of this, we know Mary Poppins Returns is the long-awaited sequel from the original Mary Poppins from 1964. So 1964 to 2018. So that's over 50 years. Trying to do the math really quick. 54 years. And it was very interesting to see that. I wondered if anyone did take part in our bonus challenge this week, which was to not only watch Mary Poppins, but to watch the original as well. Mary Poppins does a really good way of honoring the original film. And so there are a couple of Easter eggs of nods to the original film that we do see in Mary Poppins Returns. So anyone who's maybe familiar with the original or actually got to partake in the bonus, I know there's a couple people in the live chat that have, what were some of the Easter eggs that you caught on to if you did take part of the bonus challenge. Would love to see. And even if you're watching this at a later date, feel free to comment below. What were some of the Easter eggs that you really liked seeing that was kind of a callback to the original 1964 film? So for me, one of my favorite callbacks, because I did get to watch both, um, and I wasn't like a huge fan of Mary Poppins when I was a kid, but now as an adult and a big fan of musical theater, I really enjoyed Mary Poppins Returns, and I really enjoy rewatching Mary Poppins because it really does feel like a film version of a Broadway musical or like a musical theater production. And so I really liked it. I loved the kite, like that they find the kite and that's what brings Mary Poppins back. I loved that little bit of things. Another Easter egg that I caught on a little early when I was doing research about this film is that for those who have watched in Mary Poppins Returns, when um, Jack and Jane meet each other and kind of reconnect while being adults, there's a lady who like walks by and asks for directions to 19 Cherry Tree Lane, and they give her directions to the house next door or two houses down. That actress is the original actress who played Jane. So the child actor who played Jane in the 1964 film is the fancy lady asking for directions to 19 Cherry Tree Lane in the thing. So I thought that was really neat to not only include Dick Van Dyke, who I love Dick Van Dyke, but also that original actress. Her name escapes me right now, but it was really, really great. Um, yeah, I like the idea, Amy, of that Jack used to work with Bert and that Dick Van Dyke is playing Mr. Dawes Jr. For those who may not know, Dick Van Dyke played the old banker, Mr. Dawes Sr., in the original one, as well as Bert. And so I thought it was kind of interesting. All the things you find out when you do a little research. I thought it was interesting that he came back and played the son. I was just like, spitting image, because it's the exact same actor. So that was kind of cool. Yeah, I also liked the clothes, Amy, that they wore that looked like cartoon clothes when they went into the Royal Dalton Bowl. There were a lot of cool homages to the original film. And I'm glad that they did those tiny little details, but it wasn't like just like let's do the original film over again. Like this was clearly like a different story. You didn't need to watch the original to kind of know what was going on. It was its own adventure, which I really appreciated about it. So yeah. So that's all we're going to talk about the bonus adventure, the bonus challenge, because we know not everyone got to partake in that. But yeah, if you ever watch the original, feel free to see if you pick up those things from what you watched in Mary Poppins Returns. So just to kind of open it up, we talked about favorite adventures. I wanted to know what was maybe your favorite songs or dance numbers in the film. There are tons. It felt like similar to a theater production that there was just like a dance number or song every like scene, or every like a minute of talking would happen and then another song would come on, which I like because I'm a theater fan, but not everyone likes. Uh, so yeah, if you had a favorite song of the film or favorite dance number, I'd love to hear what your favorites are. For myself, um, the one with the lamplighters, Triple Little Light Fantastic, and seeing the bikes, I was just like, they're doing BMX in a musical number. It was really cool. I loved seeing it. I loved that it wasn't traditional, like some of the other songs. But my favorite song is Turning Turtle. I just love the concept. It's just like, yeah, we all have days where it feels like the world's turning turtle, and I just love the made up words in it. It kind of felt a bit like oh my goodness, can't say the word, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, like that the singy like made up word song. Oh, but yeah, I love that song. But like seeing the leeries on the bikes while others are dancing and others are singing, and like the whole spectacle of it was just like, oh my goodness, couldn't even get over it. Um, I agree with you, Tammy. All the musical numbers were just so magical. They were just such a good uh, thought into it. Um, Amy, cover is not the book. That was such a good one. It was a nice, again, it was good to go back in the cartoon world, the 2D animated world, and have everyone interacting with each other. Um, yeah, and not. I think it was more of appropriate song for more adult, adolescent people watching. Um, but yeah, there were some really good ones. Royal Dalton Music Hall when they're on their way there. Um, can you imagine that? I get that theme like stuck in my head now. Like randomly throughout the day, I'll just be like, "Can you imagine that?" Like it's such a good. All the songs are just very memorable. Um, Lovely London Sky, that kept like coming back and coming back and coming back in. Um, and then the place where the lost things go. That sweet little lullaby that comforts the kids. Um, yeah, it was really interesting to see all that. Awesome. Thanks for sharing your favorites and your insights and things along those lines. So, my next question for our group is this: who is doing well and who is struggling during these circumstances? So, the film is based when London was going through a rough time of depression after wars. Um, and you kind of see, and even like Michael Banks is a widower. Um, he's not making a lot of money, things along those lines. So, who does well during these kind of difficult struggles, and who is maybe not doing so well in these struggles? I'd love to get your input on that. So we know that Michael Banks is not necessarily doing well coping with the loss of his wife, and now with the struggle of trying to keep his house. And the kids seem to also not be doing it well. Like, they're doing it well, but it's just like, yeah, Amy, I'm just reading your comment now. The twins are too adult for their own good. Like, they've had to grow up pretty fast and care about things that kids their age don't usually care about. Um, I like your other comment, Amy. The bank is doing well, but in a bad way. Yeah, absolutely. Georgie is happy despite his circumstances. Absolutely. Jack is, though, I mean, Lamplighters didn't make a lot of money. They were not, you know, it's not like they were unionized and had benefits to take care of themselves. Um, he still seems to have like an optimistic view of life, which is really good. Um, that even though things around him may not be going so well, or he might not be doing so well, he's looking at the brighter sides of things. And so that's a really important thing to distinguish. Um, And you're right, the sister Jane seems to be thriving, seems to be doing actually really well for herself, as she was an organizer for unions, I think, for the laborers. I didn't quite understand what her job was, and if it was a job or what. I wasn't entirely sure about that. That kind of flew over my head, to be honest. Um, but yeah, so it's interesting that various different characters seem to be responding differently to a challenging circumstance. Um, and even like Topsy, like second Wednesday of the month, she does not do so well. Everything goes, the world goes turtle. I just love that image. Um, so maybe I'll open it up to this. When life seems to be challenging, or when our world's feeling a bit like it's turning turtle, how are ways that we cope? How do you cope when the world is feeling a bit upside down, topsy turvy, um, or a bit of a challenge? Um, for myself, I tend to try to remind myself of things that I know are true. So, things go poorly for me. I remind myself of the good times of when God's gotten me through stuff, or, you know, this is hard, but also this other challenge in life was hard, and so that helped me. Um, yeah, Tammy, I'm just reading your comment. I start with prayer and then find trusted friends and family to talk about these challenging times. Absolutely. I think turning to others is important. We kind of even see that in this film. Once Michael starts, and even the kids start kind of sharing their feelings and being a bit more like open and honest with each other, things tend to shift, like in a very healing way. Um, Reminding that the challenging times are only temporarily. Yeah, I think that that's also helpful, like putting things in perspective. Also, I think like more recently in my life, I don't know if this is with anybody else, but more recently in my life, like reminding myself that it's okay, like feeling like it's frustrating, or being angry that it's challenging, or being sad that life is a bit topsy turvy. Like reminding myself that that's okay, that's normal to feel angry and sad and frustrated. Like those are very real and important emotions to express. And not just be like, well, I should always just be happy and cheery. It's just like, no, like you're allowed to feel disappointment. You're allowed to feel sad. You're allowed to feel angry. Um, so yeah, so I think for me, those are kind of the ways I cope when my world turns turtle. Amy, I call up or text my family and friends. I also diving headlong into the Bible a lot lately. Yeah, I think an upside to many of us in Christian community is that the stay-at-home orders and the shutdowns have allowed for a lot more space to to do more of those practices that we felt we were too busy. Sorry, as I get my hand out of my sweater, too busy for before. So yeah, I'm glad that you're diving into the Bible more. I'm glad. That's good news. Thanks, Amy, for sharing. And Tammy, thank you. Um, that's all very good news. And thank you for sharing. And those at home, maybe, share how you cope uh, with those in your household. And maybe there are ways that you guys can aid each other in those moments where the world goes turtle. So my next question, I apologize. I feel a sneeze coming on, and I don't want to blow everyone's like speakers out, so I'm trying to like not sneeze into the microphone. Um, is Man, I haven't had to do that before. My next question is this: why does Mary Poppins come to 17 Cherry Tree Lane? What is Mary Poppins' goal? So Amy, right on the head there. To take care of the bank's children. Why have you come? Well, to take care of the bank's children. Oh, I guess. And then the little ones say us. And then she goes, oh, yes, I guess you too. I love that. And it's interesting because, like in that very quick moment, that idea of to take care of the bank's children could be interpreted in many ways. But what do you think Mary Poppins meant by helping the bank's children? What did that look like for Mary Poppins? How was she going to accomplish that? A few more answers coming in. I'll just wait a second. Maybe at home you can talk about that. What does taking care of the bank's children look like? Or what does that mean for her? So she helps them remember what it's like to be a child again, Amy. Um, Tammy, I like your thought to keep the hope in keeping the family together. Uh, Nancy, to be the extra help the bank children that they don't know they needed. Yeah. Um, Mary Poppins, and I think we see this in the original as well, is very much of like that reminder of what it means to be a child. And that reminder of joy and whimsy and adventure and fun in life. And so that's kind of where my thought for my final thought came from, which was this idea of, what is required for us? Like, what are the requirements, or what does it look like to have a childlike faith? Because God talks about that. God talks about how describes it as his children. Jesus talks about, sorry, as I close my window, Jesus talks about uh, taking care of the little children. And so I wanted to maybe ask you guys, what does it look like for us as teenagers, coming out of being a kid, as young adults, as parents or adults? What does that look like for us to have a childlike faith? I'd love to get your insights before I dive into the scripture that came to mind. Some really great thoughts coming in. I'm just going to give a few more seconds for people who may still be typing or discussing at home. So I'll just mention a few in chat. If you're still typing, feel free to continue the conversation. Trusting God, not just trusting his word, but letting go and letting God. Not just trust in word, right? Not just by saying I trust him, but actually letting go of things and letting God take control. Absolutely. Not being blocked by irrationalities. Um, remembering what it's like when we first accepted Christ. Yeah. Like I said, the Bible talks about us being children a lot. Uses the image of young kids when he talks about those who follow him a lot. And Jesus was a man of examples. And so one of the passages that came to me was found in Matthew, where Jesus is teaching. And during his ministry, he talks to groups that had children in them a lot. And children historically, and even now we see it, are thought very highly. Not necessarily that they're thought of negatively, but they were just, they didn't have a lot of rights. They didn't, they were considered like lowest position. Lowest position. As I'm reading my thing here, I'm gonna fix my, because I can fix my PowerPoint here because I could already see different things. So the passage is this: At that time, the disciples came to Jesus and asked, "Who then is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven?" And he called a little child to him and placed the child among them. And he said, "Truly I tell you, unless you change and become like a little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Therefore, whoever takes the lowly position of this child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. And whoever welcomes one such child in my name welcomes me." And so I just thought of this idea with Mary Poppins where, she really wanted the older Banks children and people in life, and even like in the original, the parents of the Banks children and other people to view life like a child, like an adventure with such joy and so much potential. Being able to trust our parent, I love that idea of trusting in God. Like we trust in our parents to take care of us. There's this trust attached to God our Father. And this idea that whoever welcomes, that the child has the greatest position in the kingdom of God, but also one who welcomes a child welcomes Christ. And this was such an important feature to Christ that I'm just going to read the following verses in my phone of that passage, where 6 and 7 says this: "If anyone causes one of these little ones," meaning kids, "those who believe in me, to stumble, it would be better for them to have a large millstone hung from their neck and to be drowned in the depths of the sea." Woe. Woe to the world because of the things that cause people to stumble. Such things must come, but woe to the person through whom they come. The importance of us being childlike in our faith and not conforming to a world that tells us that it's not wise or not proper or foolish to have a childlike faith, that cause us to stumble that way, is Christ says it's better for them to basically destroy themselves than to actually stumble in the way of someone who believes. And so, in another passage, in another point of scripture, children are held back from Christ as he's teaching, and he says, "No, let the little children come to me." And I think it's important for us, and a lesson that we can learn in a way from Mary Poppins, is that God calls us to be his children. He wants us to have adventures and joy and a life abundant. Does that mean that we're not going to have struggles? No, the kids struggle. They miss their mom. They get lost in the fog. They, all this other stuff. And kind of what we did at our at-home discussions, like we talked about, Christ being the light that gets us out of the fog. Like God's the one that provides those moments of light to us to get us out of those instances of challenge, like Mary Poppins to her cousin, like helps us see the world in a different perspective when it feels going turtle. Um, God gives us the ability to imagine what life would be like different than our circumstance. You know, He gives us hope and joy, and I would say God is a provider of wonder. He does Christ with God's power. Like, Christ did wondrous acts. God does wondrous acts in creating the world. So, you know, I'm okay with thinking of God like a little child and just being in awe of Him and willing to trust Him and leading me on a great adventure as I go. And so that's kind of my hope for all of us that we can take away in regards to our faith in this film, is this importance of remembering those moments of being childlike. You know, growing up is a part of who we are. We can never just forever be never having to worry about bills, never having to worry about getting good grades or focusing in school, never, you know, aiming for a career. Those are aspects of our world that are just necessary. But Michael had a job at the end and still found areas of joy with his children and being with his children and reuniting kind of a way, or reconnecting with his family. You know, the banker gets fired by Mr. Dawes, and Mr. Dawes, you know, brings hope to a situation. You know, like, we can be still very childlike in our everyday. We can be very, and not in a way that's immature, but in a way that brings joy and hope to others. Because as we can see with Mary Poppins, joy and hope are very contagious and they help others find a little bit more hope and joy in their own lives. So I just wanted to encourage you with that today as we wrap up Mary Poppins and Mary Poppins Returns. I hope you really enjoyed the film and really enjoyed the time with your family. And I just hope maybe sometime this week, find a moment that's joyful for you and for those around you. Be a beacon of joy for the ones that you care for this week. So I think that's all for me tonight. As we wrap up just after 8 o'clock, I just have one announcement before I announce our next movie. So my one announcement is this: because summer is here and things are reopening, and lots of people go, not a lot of travel, unfortunately, happening around this time. We're going to be continuing Movie Club until the middle of July. And then I'm going to be taking some time for my family and to be with my family and just away from work for a little bit. But then during that season, we're going to just take a break from our weekly format and maybe evaluate. I know that there's still some things up in the air in regards to what school in the fall is going to look like. And I know some churches are reopening soon or will be reopening in the fall. And so I felt like I want to take our time to this week. Like, I want to just take our time and not just be like, so it's June, goodbye. So we're going to do the first 2 Mondays in July. So we will have 3 more live streams. So we have the 29th of June, the 6th of July, and then the 13th of July will be our last one. And then we're just gonna pause. So my thought is that we will pick this up, but will it be weekly because we're all still at home? Maybe less often because things are reopening or school's back on, or who knows? A lot can happen as we could tell through the last 3 months, a lot can happen in a very short period of time. So just wanted to make you all aware that though we're taking a slight pause, we're not gone forever. We're just going to take a slight pause and evaluate and see what would be best for all of us. You know, if it's weekly still possible. Are we wanting to, you know, life's getting back to busy again, but we still want to keep this up, you know? So I'll be reaching out with a survey to parents involved and seeing what's really helpful for you guys as families. But even feel free to, like, on my social medias, reach out. On this page, if you go to my channel and go to About, you can find my email. So feel free to email me if you have any thoughts or questions. If you have any recommendations, I mean, I'm I still have a list, but I'm always open to recommendations and requests from the community. So if you have any recommendations, feel free, type them in chat, type them in the comments, um, tag me in a post with Monday Movie Club, or send me an email, however you want. I might include a portion of recommendation offers in the survey I send off to parents, just in case youth want to request that way. So yeah, so that's just my only announcement. So we have 3 more after today, and then we'll take a quick break, and then we'll go from there. But this has been an incredible time together. So our next week's movie is definitely a favorite of mine. It is Finding Nemo, released in 2003. It is available streaming on YouTube for rental, iTunes for rental, Cineplex online, Google Play, as well as Disney Plus. Those are, as well as a very popular movie. And now that we can all share things a bit easier, maybe you have a family friend that can help you borrow the movie, and then you can just wipe it down, or however you want to do that safely. But yes, Finding Nemo will be our next film. I know it is a very popular one. They also made a sequel. I'm not making a bonus challenge this week because I felt like 2 bonus challenges in a row would be too much. But this will be what it is. So thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Everybody who's been at home and conversing with us and following along. Thank you so much for doing all of this. And yeah, I think this is going to be really, really fun. I hope you all enjoy Finding Nemo. And thank you so much again, everyone who's in live chat. So take care, and God bless.